Americans are heading into this year's presidential election more polarized than ever. And one of the main issues dividing conservatives and liberals are the culture wars. We're going to take a closer look here in Florida, the state where Republican Governor Ron DeSantis says woke goes to die. But first, remember this?
This is a global pandemic.
During COVID, Governor DeSantis declared the free state of Florida, refusing to lock it down. The pandemic also saw the birth of an ultra-conservative movement in Florida education, Moms for Liberty.
I joined Moms for Liberty because of the mandates, because I'm not against masks, I'm not against vaccines. I'm against this tyranny from the government that tells you if you don't do this, you're going to be punished.
Now, with almost 300 chapters across the country, Moms for Liberty say they're a grassroots army of joyful warriors. Anti-hate researchers say they're well-connected extremists. And once the pandemic was over, they found a new cause.
Florida, parents have a fundamental role in the education, healthcare, and well-being of their
Florida's
children.
Parental Rights in Education Act, what critics call the Don't Say Gay law. That prohibits public schools from any discussion of sexuality or gender identity. Republicans say the legislation is needed to protect kids from pornographic content and liberal indoctrination. But the laws can also ban books from school libraries. All it takes is a simple challenge. Florida has since pulled 1,400 books from schools, the most of any state in the U.S. Moms for Liberty's motto is, we do not co-parent with the government, but isn't, for example, backing a Florida law like the Parental Rights in Education law that effectively bans books in school libraries, promoting government involvement?
Well, we're not banning books. Let's say, first of all, let's stay clear of that word that misleads so many people, because those books, you can find it everywhere in any public library. What we want is, do not use my tax dollar to indoctrinate my kids. Schools are for academics.
You have 4 kids. I have 2 kids. What if one of your children ended up being gay? Wouldn't you want them to have a safe space in the school where they could go and learn about things that perhaps they might not be comfortable about talking at home with you?
For me, the safe space is at home. The person who should help that child is the parents, not a politician, not a teacher, not a schools. Right now you see children that they are not trusting their parents, because at school they are telling, if your parents don't understand you, it's okay. We are going to take you in hands and we are going to proceed with what you need. Oh, why? Because the school knows what my child that I've raised from birth know better than me? I don't think so.
Moms for Liberty supported what's known as the Don't Say Gay bill.
I don't know the Do Not Say Gay bill.
Well, the Parental Rights in Education, what's known colloquially as Don't Say Gay, because that's what it is. It says that teachers don't have the right to talk about anything related to LGBTQ from K through 12. That's up to 18 years old. That's what the text says.
It doesn't say that, and we can go over the bill. It's very short. It says it protects any child. Even if you have a child that it's identified as an LGBTQ, it protects that child. Why?
But you're not allowed to talk about it in school. That's what the law says.
About sex. Not about...
Or gender-related issues.
Do you mean it's only LGBTQ talking about sex? For me, if a child is talking about heterosexuals, this is talking about sex too.
Of course.
And I am not against heterosexuals, homosexuals, bisexuals, or pansexuals, or other sexuality. I'm against sexualizing children, grooming children. I am not against LGBTQ. My organization is not against LGBTQ. We have gay parents join our organization every day.
It's not just about issues of sexuality. There have also been books that have been banned that have to do with race. For example, Ruby Bridges. It's about a little 6-year-old black girl who suffered racial slurs, death threats when she integrated a white school in New Orleans in 1960. That book tells the true history of a child's experience. Why would that not be okay for another child to read today?
Bullying is real. Racism is real. However, to tell a child that is a victim instead of a victor is not good. Because when you promote a victimization culture, this is not the best way to get over these problems. It's telling that you have to stay in this problem. And what we want is confident kids that no matter what happened to them, they're going to thrive in life. They're going to find finally what they want and fight for what they dream of.
But that's this Ruby Bridges, that's her story. She survived that awful thing and she went on to become a bigger person in spite of that. Couldn't that inspire other children who are facing racism today?
I'm not going to promote victimization culture. I'm going to promote victor culture, let's say.
A legal scholar will tell you that the path to fascism starts with book banning, has happened multiple times, and that is what we're alluding to with this sign.
Cameron Driggers is a student at the University of Florida. He also runs the Youth Action Fund, a group working to fight Florida's ultra-conservative policies. Many of the group's members are part of the LGBTQ community.
Let's get Jack on the phone.
For them, school used to be a safe space where they could explore ideas not in line with their families.
I grew up in a hyper-conservative family that supported the likes of Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. They continue to support him. I had no sort of LGBTQ representation as a kid. And where I found that representation oftentimes was in my libraries, was picking up a novella and seeing characters that looked like me.
One of the biggest fights is here in Brevard County, where Moms for Liberty was born. The Youth Action Fund is handing out free copies of some of the hundreds of books pulled from school shelves.
We have things like All Boys Aren't Blue. I mean, this memoir is actually among the most banned books in the United States, not just in Florida. And it tells the story of being queer, being black, discovering yourself in unfortunate circumstances, going through a trauma that many people do. Toni Morrison is a renowned author. I mean, I don't have to explain that. The fact that we would censor a work by Toni Morrison is just absurd.
We know that these bans are rooted only in fear, bigotry, and an attempt of an older and dying generation to restrict our critical thinking.
There is an extremist movement that is using Florida as a blueprint for the rest of the country. We believe, PEN America and others that are fighting in this fight in Florida, feel like Florida will be the blueprint for a resistance.
To better fight in the culture wars, free speech organization PEN America has just opened a brand new Florida office not far from this bookstore. It's funded by best-selling authors like Michael Connelly or Judy Blume, who's seen her own works pulled from the shelves.
Every single book ban that happened in Florida started with objections from less than 5 people in Florida.
For PEN America, the arguments put forth by parental rights groups are flawed.
There's a lot of talk about, oh, it's not a ban because they could get it on Amazon, or it's not a ban, they can buy it at this amazing bookstore. There are plenty of children who go home every day, have a key to get in, and their parents have to work, and they don't get to go to the public library. They certainly don't have a credit card to log on to Amazon and get whatever text they need. And then there's just what happens in the magic of being surrounded by books and text and not even knowing what you're looking for until it finds you. I mean, how many of us have wandered into bookshelves and felt, you know, the excitement of finding a new book and what that means for you.
Let's talk about Moms for Liberty, the group that's been behind many of these book bans. The group started in Florida. It now has chapters across the country. What does that say to you about the state of America today?
Well, I think just the existence of Moms for Liberty is scary. But what the Moms for Liberty sort of movement that's happened in Florida, I think also tells us, and part of our job in protecting our democracy, is to fight back against this idea that we're talking about Republicans and Democrats. We're in an incredibly polarized position throughout the country, especially in Florida and other places throughout the South. But it's not a Republican-Democratic issue. It's not a blue and a red issue. It is an extremist versus democracy lovers issue. And I think it's very clear that we, name something truthfully when we see it. The Moms for Liberty group practices in extremism. They're a minority. the majority of Floridians do not want this, and we want to continue supporting that movement.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit here.
Sure.
We interviewed someone from Moms for Liberty who said the book bans in school libraries aren't a problem. It's similar to having internet, for example, internet protections on search engines for kids. Some parents might say that they kind of have a point. I mean, what do you think about that?
Targeting specific viewpoints in the content of speech runs contrary to the First Amendment. So when you look at the overall theme of what's happening and what it means for public education, you have a very clear message that's being sent to teachers, administrators, and students. These are viewpoints, these are positions that the state finds disfavorable. Then what is the message that happens to our actual school children? If a text is pulled and says we're focusing on LGBTQ plus themes, or we're focusing on themes that tell the story of Black or Brown history in the States, and those are disfavored, then what we're also doing is telling Floridian students that they are of less value. And that is incredibly harmful.
Moms for Liberty calls themselves joyful warriors. Is this a war?
That's a tough question for me to answer because I tend to be an optimist and a glass is half full sort of person. So I hate to say yes. But I think the answer is probably yes. I mean, I think we're in a battle for sure for the fabric of our democracy. And I guess my glasses half full position would be, yes, it's a battle, but it's being joyfully waged.
But the chaos of thousands of proposed book bans could mean some small victories are in store. Governor DeSantis, now out of the presidential race, is downplaying the bans, accusing people of hijacking the process.